Take a look at this image. On the left, you see what appears to be a pristine sneaker, but on the right, you see the deception, a piece removed to reveal sharp layers of sponge cake, dark chocolate frosting, and rich red jam. To pull off an effect like this, you have to master a physical contradiction. You build an exterior that looks exactly like stiff, stitched leather, but it must wrap around a core that yields instantly to a knife blade. Achieving this requires a specific toolkit. You need a dense carving cake, precise paper templates, a batch of whipped ganache, sheets of edible clay, and basic sculpting tools. Mastering the structural rules of these materials turns a standard bake into an optical deception. Step 1 is building the physical foundation. We begin by pinning a printed, properly scaled shoe template directly to our sponge cake to cut out the exact silhouette. Before the blade ever touches the sponge, the cake must be frozen. Attempting to carve a room temperature cake will cause the crumb to tear, and the entire structure will fail under the pressure of the knife. Also, check your template orientation before making that first cut. It is remarkably easy to accidentally carve a reversed or inverted shoe silhouette if your paper guide is flipped. A perfectly level, precisely carved, and cold foundation dictates whether your final physical illusion succeeds or crumbles under its own weight later on. With the shape carved, we apply a thick, even layer of whipped ganache over the entire cake and then chill it until it becomes completely solid. This chilled ganache performs a critical structural role. It provides the rigid support required to hold up the heavy, overhanging sections of the shoe, like the toe box. Many bakers attempt to use standard American buttercream here. Because buttercream softens quickly at room temperature, it causes those heavy exterior panels to sag and pull away from the cake. Firm ganache bypasses this problem entirely. It acts as a hidden exoskeleton, locking the shape in place and making gravity-defying edible architecture possible. Now we build the anatomy of the shoe. We start by using a rolling pin to flatten out our edible clay, also known as modeling chocolate, into uniform sheets for the exterior paneling. Look at the physical anatomy of this shoe. We cut the clay into exact overlapping shapes: the toe box, heel guard, and side logos. Then, using a dab of water, we apply these panels flat over the white base, integrating them seamlessly. For the smaller cutouts, there is a crucial mitigation step. Let those small pieces air dry for several minutes before you pick them up. This ensures they retain their exact geometric integrity and don't stretch out of shape in your hands. Treating the edible clay exactly like distinct physical pieces of leather bridges the gap between traditional cake decorating and functional shoemaking. To sell the realism to the human eye, we have to replicate manufacturing marks. We do this by running a quilting wheel along the edges of the applied panels to simulate uniform, machine-made stitching. As the wheel moves across the soft surface, it presses perfectly spaced indentations into the material, creating a convincing physical microtexture. Next, we use a clay extruder tool to press out long, uniform cylindrical strings. These will serve as our shoelaces. Do not attempt to physically tie these edible laces into a knot. The tension will inevitably stretch and tear the clay, destroying the realism you've built. Instead, we use an illusion. We cut laces into segments, pierce holes into the shoe, and tuck the ends inside. Selling the illusion depends on faking the mechanical connections that the human eye expects to see. The final surface treatment we apply requires heat. We take a clothing steamer and pass it lightly over the entire cake structure for just a few seconds. The intense steam causes a chemical reaction, melting away the matte powdered sugar residue left over from rolling the clay. As it dries, it leaves a permanent semi-gloss sheen behind. Controlling this surface reflectivity and light bounce provides the ultimate visual cue that tricks the brain into seeing genuine leather. Let's look at the finished result. The deception holds up because we adhered to a core structural formula, a cold, dense cake base, supported by a firm ganache exoskeleton, and finished with precision micro-detailing. You can apply this exact system of anatomical paneling and rigid internal support to other sneaker brands, colorways, or entirely different physical shapes. Reverse engineering an everyday object into a convincing edible replica is possible for anyone who respects these structural limits.